You're coming down to see the earliest spiritual writing. When people say the Bible, the point is that that's why it says in the King James Version, diligently compared and revised. But revised to what? You have to come all the way to the pyramid text and coming forth by day and by night, where these spiritual writings were written long before King James, long before the New Americanized Version, long before the Septuagint version and all these other various versions. This is where the earliest spiritual writing is at. So we're going to go, have to bend down a little bit, and we're going to come up in the chamber of Teti.
Greece didn't exist. They were in caves painting themselves blue.
Teti's pyramid of the 6th dynastic period. As I said before, the difference of the Old Kingdom pyramids that you saw at the Giza Plateau, that you're equally going to see in Dajor, is that those pyramids have no medunet, no writing. But during the 5th and the 6th dynasty, we see the writing, what is known as the pyramid text. This is where the pyramid text came from. This is the prototype of the earliest religious writing. Without this, Kemet would not have Per and Haru coming forth by day and by night. You would not have a Torah. You would not have a Bible, and you would not have a Quran. This is the origin of the earliest spiritual writing. We're talking about this pyramid is actually a book in stone.
The last pharaoh of the 5th dynasty, Unas, built a pyramid in Saqqara near Djoser's mortuary complex. For the first time, the walls inside the chamber of Unas's pyramid were adorned with magical hieroglyphs. Later, these pyramid texts became an essential feature for a pharaoh's tomb.
You got Unas, Yusakar, and in Unas you got pyramid texts. These are the oldest texts in ancient Kemet. They are pyramid texts. Then they moved into the coffin text, and then they went into the papyrus.
What we need to highlight in the time left are the people who have enriched our lives with the written word. We can start in 2800 BC with Ptah-hotep, who wrote the oldest known book in the world. By the Middle Kingdom in Kemet, these ancient African people had begun a writing tradition still familiar to us today. A story called A Tale of Two Brothers comes to us. All forms of writing from the epic poem to the novel had been solidified by that time. Jumping forward in time, we see the African tradition of writing continued.
Brothers and sisters, here we have holy texts, holy writings. We've gone into Unas's pyramid. We've gone into Teti's pyramid. Spiritual writing when the Sahu, the spiritual body, astral projected. This is long before biblical text was even in existence.
You can't talk about African contributions without talking about African written contributions. We've told you about the 27 known written languages which existed before European contact.
Let me just show you Nsibidi, Mende, the Moom script from the Cameroons, the Vi script from Liberia, and the Bete script from the Ivory Coast. And it's important to expose students to all these different writing systems, because that destroys the myth that African people had no systems of writing, that African people did not write. It's a myth. It's a lie. Here you have the Nsibidi script on your right, and then you have the Egyptian script on the left. Look at the similarities. Look at them. Comparison between the Egyptian script and the Toma signs. Look at the similarities. See, when you look at stuff like this, then it becomes very hard for people to tell you that, well, Egypt was isolated. Egypt was not a part of Africa. The Mende signs. This is Vi. The Moom.
So I don't know what they keep trying to talk about, that Mesopotamia brought anything into Africa. That's bullshit. Ain't nothing out there in what you call Iraq, but nothing but mud mountains. They ain't got no stone, no papyrus. And if anybody tell you they was writing before the Africans, they telling a damn lie. Because paper come from papyrus. If they was writing before the African, ask them what the hell was they writing on. That's all you got to ask. What was you writing on?
So we move on, we can see here at the Great Temple of Amun and Karnak, going all the way back in its foundation from the 12th dynastic period, you can see Roman numerals before the Romans. Rhine mathematical papyrus. Here you can see the area of a triangle. They're figuring out the area of triangles here in Kemet. And look at the hieratic writing here. This is not even this. See, they had 3 different types of writing. And here you can see the volume of pyramids, the volume of truncated pyramids. And they always telling us how advanced the Mesopotamian mathematics was. They never show you a single example of it. Just tell you that.
The Ishango bone is the world's oldest mathematical artifact. Most people think that the study of mathematics had its origins in ancient Egypt and Babylonia, but this view was dramatically challenged in the 1950s with the discovery of a small animal bone inscribed with markings that appear to represent numbers. It don't appear, they are numbers. The artifact was discovered in a small African fishing village of Ishango on the border of Zaire and Uganda at the beginning of the Nile, which we said the Ishango bone now lies at the Museum of Natural Science in Brussels and has been dated to around 20,000 BC.
Alexander Marjak and Jean de Hazelin agree it shows the first evidence of multiplication and math skills in the world.
You see the lines? You see the carvings? See, it didn't develop. They got carvings on it. And so this is what it developed to. I'll bring it back for you, family. So y'all can see the development. It come out of the interior of Africa. And it come down the Nile, and this is what you have in Egypt. You got one of them in Babylonia, Mesopotamia, Maya, Aztecs.
Then there are such things as the Amos mathematical papyrus, also known as the Rhine papyrus. It lets you know that the ancient Kemites knew about truncated pyramids, quadratures of circles, and fractions thousands of years ago, well before computers. They also had the mathematical sophistication to create star clocks, merquettes, and water clocks. Again, it's worth reminding you that Egypt is in Africa, so this mathematical accomplishment came from Africans and African people.
Now here we go with the Elvis Papyrus, 1525, 1504 BCE. Edwin Smith Papyrus, 1600 BCE. And you can see to the right is the Arabic. And you can see where they copied right up out of the Hieratic, because they didn't have no damn book of the day. The 8th dynasty, 1500 BCE. Joshua, late Egypt, 2nd century. Matthew, Egypt, first half of the 4th century. Leviticus, Egypt, late century. The oldest manuscript of Jonah and 1 Peter, Egypt, 3rd century. See the arm and the cross. Still on there. Still on there, family. There it is. I blew it up for you so you can see it. That's the Gospel of Judas. Go look it up. But this show you right there, there was writing on papyrus. That come up out the Nile Valley. These are the oldest parts of the goddamn Bible. This is 3rd century in Egypt. We developed paper because we was pushing the technology of language. Language is a technology, and we were developing all kinds of languages. We already got the research to show that we are the authors of writing. We invented papyrus. I ask anybody, if you invented writing, what the hell did you write it on? Because we invented paper, coming from papyrus, which is an indigenous African plant. You can go right to the damn internet and type in papyrus, and it's gonna tell you an indigenous plant from Egypt, the Nile Valley. And he gonna show me some clay cookies that are descended of an Arab and wrote a little clay cookie. I'm gonna show you this shit. And he's going to say that this man is the author of writing. Now this is the Mesopotamians writing on clay. This is, look at that shit. What the hell do that say? Nobody know. At least with the hieroglyphs, you can see some zoo types. You can see different things that really exist. Arms, people. What the hell is that?
This is the ziggurat of Ur,
This is now when you look at this, you say, okay, maybe they did have a little knowledge, but they dressed this damn building up. This is what the damn building looked like before. Right now, in this millennium, they went over that little mud castle and put those bricks around there to give you the illusion that that's how it looked. But it could never compare to what you're looking at right here. The Great Pyramids of Giza that the Nile Valley Africans put down. Ain't no damn debate. Here it is, right there in your face. And they won't tell you that another civilization on the same level of Kemet existed in America. Nigga, show us the damn pyramid. Show us the architecture, the artifacts, and the writings. They can't show you nothing. Here again shows you the architecture of Mesopotamia. They only built with mud brick. If you're the cream of the planet Earth, you got to show me something better than this. Jesse, Jerusalem, Muslim, Father Kabbalah, another weak-ass scholar.
The Ishango bone, evidence of prime number, 25,000 BCE, 2650 step pyramid constructed, early use of integral calculus. We dropping calculus. We dropping trigonometry. We dropping geometry. We dropping astronomy. We dropping mathematics. What do you have in Asia that can stand up to this evidence, this hard evidence and fact?
This is the amazing object we call the normal palette, which has been called the first historical document in the world.
Pre-dynastic period built Egypt.
And now there is growing evidence linking the Scorpion King to the birth of one of the hallmarks of civilization, writing. Scattered inside King Scorpion's tomb, Gunther Dreyer found about 180 small ivory tags. Each one was inscribed with mysterious images. Some obviously animals, others less clear. The implications are staggering.
When we found the first of these little tags in the sand filling of the chambers, we couldn't believe it. Because at the first glance, they resemble later hieroglyphs, but we knew writing only from a much later period, 200 years later. Could it be possible, was our question, that they knew writing already?
Hieroglyphs use both meaning and sound signs, which combine to form words. The pharaohs used hieroglyphs as the language of their kingdom for thousands of years. But no one had ever found any sign of hieroglyphs predating the pharaohs. It had always been thought that the idea of writing first arose not in North Africa, but in the Middle East, in ancient Mesopotamia. In Tomb Uj, which predates the pharaohs, each of the tags had a hole in it, suggesting it had once been attached either to the wooden boxes, whose remains were found nearby, or to other containers.
What could be the use of such labels? Just decoration? Not very likely. They had been fixed with these holes to something, and it was most likely that they transferred some information. So we started to understand them and to read them.
The breakthrough came when Dreyer found tags that made sense as hieroglyphs. One showed a stork and a seat. Dreyer now found other tags that could also be read as Egyptian place names.
The important thing is, this is phonetic writing. Signs represent sounds of a language. And that's a major step in developing of writing. And these are the earliest examples of such phonetic writing, much earlier than what we know from Mesopotamia.
It means that the oldest piece of writing ever found is Egyptian.
And these are the earliest examples of such phonetic writing, much earlier than what we know from Mesopotamia.
It means that the oldest piece of writing ever found is Egyptian.
And these are the earliest examples of such phonetic writing, much earlier than what we know from Mesopotamia.
It means that the oldest piece of writing ever found is Egyptian. Dreyer's discovery is momentous.
And it shows the birth of civilization came with writing to Egypt long time before we thought. That was the beginning of writing.
The Scorpion King may well have presided over the birth of phonetic writing 200 years before the first pharaohs and earlier than any other civilization in the world.
We don't know about events or persons, rulers, without writing. And what we learned from tomb UJ, the scorpion, King Scorpion's tomb, we regained 250 years of history of mankind.
They had already developed that knowledge many thousand of years before dynastic Egypt. You got to understand that dynastic Egypt began around 4100 BCE, but Egypt was already there. It just didn't form into the nation yet. It was just small counties. They were well advanced. Many of them had writing. They already had the knowledge of government. They already had the knowledge of divine kingship. They all already had deities, what you call gods, in many of these different areas of Africa. And this is the first documented goddamn nation on the planet outside of Nubia, which is right up the river from Egypt. When it comes to the eye alone, it will tell you where the greatest minds on this planet have existed. It is in the Nile Valley. And so when we talk about mathematics, it is in Africa where the documentation, where the evidence is so heavy, we're not regurgitating mathematics. We're showing where our people dropped it down so fucking hard, nigga, that you can only wonder how they did it. You understand what I'm saying? When we look at the pyramids, we are looking at the greatest accomplishment ever built by mathematics. And we're not regurgitating. And they align the Giza Plateau with the 3 stars in Orion's belt. So the astronomy is also mathematics. The first calendar appeared, first solar 365-day calendar, and they were not regurgitating it because it's still carved in the wall.
And these are the earliest examples of such phonetic writing, much earlier than what we know from Mesopotamia.
It means that the oldest piece of writing ever found is Egyptian.
See that square? Huh? But they was actually squaring some stone with that. You know, some motherfucker talking about they own the square. Get the hell out of here, nigga. Just talking. You speculating. You're a speculative mason. You're not operating. You ain't building shit. But we got to go back. You understand? It ain't just, for motherfuckers to put symbols on the back of their car and boast like they better than nobody. Learn how to actually square some stone with that, man. So we can construct some houses for ourselves. Okay? You see, men, this is a form of Amen, the god of fertility. You see the squares? You see the 90 degrees?
Yes, sir.
Can you see them?
Yes, sir.
Do you see it? There's one right there. You see that one? Okay? You see the other one? See the flail? That's on the 90. Right there. Okay? Now what you do, if you take this one right here and turn it right side up, you got it like this. Okay? If you take this one and just bring it on over, you got that. What it look like? Bingo. What it look like?
Bingo.
What's up, Mason? Where you at? I seen somebody flee up out of here. That's what it is. That's what it is. There it is. And you see it there. It's all over Kemet. Now don't get out of the control, because you see a black man's phallus. This is sacred teachings right here. But he was just on the dead level. Now you see him being raised up to the living perpendicular. Uh-oh. See that right angle? See that square? See that 90 degree? I put it in there so you can see it. So I don't want nobody to say, and this right here, S.O.Y go back pre-dynastic, before Kemet. All the deities that you see in Kemet were brought to Kemet from up out of Nubia. There it is. You see the flail? It's on an acute. There it is. Now, if you take this one and you turn it right side up and take this one and put it on top of it, I'm going to show you what it looked like. That's what it looked like. Huh? Let me bring it to you so you can see it. Can you see it? What secret he got? You ain't got no damn secret. The secret is he ain't got no secret. That's the secret. Take a look at it. There it is. Just to show you again. Raised up on the square, 90 degrees. That's right. You understand what I'm saying? All of that symbolism, all those mathematics, they got up out the Nile Valley. Hey, see the rulers? That's mathematics, okay? And so this is a better look at it. You understand what I'm saying? So very well, it could have been a ruler, it could have been a calendar, either or. But those notches represent either a day or it represent a mathematical point. From an inch, a half an inch, but that's what it represents. And here again, you see the Kemetic ruler. Now, coming up out of this book, Dr. Beard tells us that at 10,000 to 6,000 BCE, the stellar calendar is in use by the ancient Nile Valley Africans and other Africans of the Great Lakes region. I want y'all to look at them dates. You understand what I'm saying? 4,000, solar calendar in use by the ancient Nile Valley Africans. The book of the coming forth by day and by night was introduced in a revised state, also known today as the Book of the Dead. Now, this right here is the solar calendar that's on the Egyptian wall. So if anybody ever, want to, say, show us the damn calendar, you can see the calendar. Right here is the sun. Here's the sun. And next to it, if you see this right here, this is representative of tens. So you got 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. That's day 26. 27, 28, 29, and this is symbolic of 30 days. The Egyptian had 12 30-day months with a special 5-day month added at the end, a special month of 5 days that needed to be added to bring it to the true 365-day calendar. You got 12 30-day months that brings it to what? 360. Okay? And they added a special 5-day month at the end of after the 12 30-day months, which makes the extra 5 days to bring it to a true 365-day calendar. Those 5 days were sacred to the birth of S.O.Y, Nephthys, Nephet, Set, and Heru or Horus the Elder. That's what the 5 days is representative of. So you look over here, you see the sun, so the same calendar. The calendar that you are on today come out of Egypt. It didn't come out of Arabia, It didn't come out of Israel, or the Vatican City, or Mecca, okay? This is where it was located, in Egypt. The first time a 365-day calendar appeared on the planet Earth. This is accredited to your ancestors. You need to go back and fetch. As you can see, the different days. Right there is 5. Right here you got 6. Right here you got 7. Right here you got 8. Let's move on.
The first concept of triangulation. Triangulation, was that attributed to Pythagoras? You don't answer all these questions here in a minute. As you see geometry, geometry means the measure of land. Ain't no Greeks measuring no land over there in those mountains up there on Mount Olympus. This is where the earth measurement starts here. Pythagoras studied for 22 years in Kemet. Read Plutarch on Osiris and Isis. The Egyptians measured everything. We were obsessed with measurement and mathematics. You can see here the brothers measuring the gold. Now white folks measuring the gold. Measured everything. Even the soul, the heart, was weighed on a scale, on the balance. You had to come before Tahuti thought, and your heart had to be just and true. They weighed everything. Everything was dealing with mathematics and sciences. Here you can see the area of a circle. How many of you knew that they were involved in the area of mathematics? How many of you knew that? The area of a circle. Look at the Orion mathematical papyrus here. The area of the circle. The area of a square. Orion mathematical papyrus. We move on. And then after they figured out the area of the triangles, they built triangles. Right there, and then they tell us Pythagoras was the father of the law of triangulation, which they called and named it after him, Pythagorean theorem. And we got triangles sitting right there, the biggest triangle you ever saw. They can't see it. We move on, and here you can see the volume of pyramids, the volume of truncated pyramids. Here they are, square numbers. Square numbers. Now, what's the basis for Pythagoras' theorem? Isn't it square roots? Isn't it square numbers? Here's the basis of it, the squaring of numbers. This is the Berlin papyrus here, the Moscow papyrus rather. So don't say Brother Matthew is making this stuff up, that Brother Matthew can't subject his passion to reason. As you can see, Pythagoras coming into Kemet, where he studied for 20, he said it himself. He studied for 22 years in Kemet. Then he went and studied 16 years in Mesopotamia and went back to Greece and started a school of mathematics. Then they said he was the father of the theorem. Just like they said Hippocrates was the father of medicine. You saw Imhotep. They made him the god of medicine. And the only first thing you hear of Hippocrates, he's in Egypt studying medicine.
See the triangles? Long before Pythagoras. You okay? So don't come in here with that. You need to, so you can go look that up, almost papyrus, and look it up and teach it to your babies. Long before some goddamn Pythagoras, when his story opened, he opened up. He in Kemet. Just like Dr. Ben said, you never heard of none of the philosophers until they was coming home from Kemet. You never heard of their ass before they went. You never heard of them before they went. Thales, Plato, all them thieves. I done busted that wide open. I done busted it because there ain't no Semetic. What is an Arab? A mixed breed. That's all it is. So here you got Shem for all the Semetics, 2441 BCE. I'm giving you dates. Ham, 2440 BCE. You got Cush up there, 2342 BCE. Do you see them pyramids right there? That's at 2550 BCE. Do you know it took 200,000-300,000 years of architectural development to even get to that damn date right there? Do you understand what I'm saying? So how the hell is you gonna go back and tell me something about a damn Semite that's born 2441 BCE? Nigga, beat me. Just beat me. There's nothing we can do with that. I'm sorry. That's garbage. Can't start no damn history with that family. We much older than that. We're hundreds of thousands of years older than that. With facts.
So here we have the Egyptian hieroglyphic of Medu-Neter writing, which is the parent of the Sinai inscription. The Sinai inscription is the parent of the Phoenician script. The Phoenician script was the parent of the early Greek script. Obviously, the Greek script is the parent of the Roman script, which is the script that we use today throughout the Western civilization. Why did they teach us this in school? Maybe I would have been a better writer if I knew that the letter that I was writing with was a letter that I had invented. They didn't teach us this. So here you find that the Phoenicians are beholden to the Semetic, and the Semetic are beholden to the Egyptians, and we know from the latest discoveries in Tasseti and in Cusco that the script preceded the Egyptians by several generations in Nubia. Then the Egyptians themselves are beholden to the land of Punt, to the God's land. This is important that we make these kinds of parallels. Let's look at the lies that they're telling.
If he's dealing with Semetic, the language Semetic, what he's doing, it comes from Shem. If there is no Shem, then there is no Semetic. That's what y'all got to understand. Those are fictional characters. We Africans, we ain't no damn Semetics. We've been here longer than that. So here's this is the Holy Bible. A good brother who was in Africa brought this back. This was in Ghana. This was a missionary's Bible. And it had an encyclopedia inside of it explaining a lot of the Bible. And so this shows you a series of plates illustrating biblical versions and antiquities. Helps to the study of the Bible. Will help validate that the Semites didn't have a language until their contact with Kemet. Okay, I'm giving you the copyright date, 1896. This is what it says. The principal language through which the Holy Scriptures have been transmitted to us are Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. It is therefore of interest to know the origin of the alphabets in which those tongues were written and the history of their development. The identification of their common origin is of quite recent date. It was not difficult to connect the Greek alphabet with the alphabet which is usually called Phoenician, but which is to perhaps better to give the wider name of Semetic. The forms of letters and still more their names and order conclusively prove the relationship. But to prove the descent of the Semitic alphabet from the Egyptian was a long and difficult task. In outward shape, the Semitic letters are to all appearance quite different from the Egyptian hieroglyphs. Their names are different, their order is different. These difficulties cause scholars to reject the ancient tradition handed down by the Greeks and Roman writers that the Semites had originally obtained their letters from Egypt. The tradition has, however, proved correct. In 1859, the French Egyptologist Desroches published the results of his study of an ancient cursive form of Egyptian writing, a form to which the name of Hieratic, or writing of the priest, has been given, and showed beyond reasonable doubt that it was the connecting link between the Egyptian and Semitic alphabets. The most important document of which he made use of was the Prissy Papyrus, the date of which is conjectured to be around 2500 BCE. Let me go down here. The Semitics adopted 22 of the Egyptian alphabetical signs, and there can be little doubt that this formation of a new alphabet took place during the period of the Semitic conquest and occupation of the Delta, the Hyksos. That's what it's saying. They knew that in 1859. We got your ass. We got your ass.
By 4500 BC, ancient Egyptians began using burial texts to accompany the dead. First known written document. Now this is deep. Now we know by 4500 BC they're doing this. That meant they had to be at least 4,000 or 5,000 years getting to that. Because you don't just wake up one day and say, okay, I'm going to write. We know we invented writing, and they know it. And if you read in the Phaedrus by Plato, in Phaedrus, he says that the Africans gave the world. He's calling us Ethiopians, which is a Greek word for burnt things. He said the Africans give the world, and he names Jews, and he says mathematics, and he says he names a number of the other things, all of the sciences, geometry, etc. He says, but the greatest science of all that they've given to the world is the science of writing itself. Now they've got this in their archive from their main man, and they're still running around running some Hammurabi stuff down, running some Greek stuff down. You understand? And this is their main man telling them. So the white folks tried to play around Ethiopia with this Semitic thing and Hamitic thing.
Our diaspora is the final chapter. The ancestral lineage built pyramids. America's first immigrant, the king's son and daughters from now waters. The first architect, the first philosophers, astronomers, the first prophets and the doctors was us.
Now here we go with the Elvis Papyrus, 1525, 1504 BCE. Now if you look right there to the left, you see the writings. When you see the red, that's just like the Bible. When they say Jesus' writings are in his speech, the things that he spoke is in red, that's where they got that from. And you can see to the right is the Arabic. And you can see where they copied right up out of the Hieratic. Just like the white boy had already done the research and showed you. Because they didn't have no damn books into the Quran. Give a damn what they say. They're liars. They did not have manuscripts. And you know a manuscript because a manuscript is written on paper. Almost papyrus, 1650 BCE. We dealing with high science here, fam. And you can see where the Hebrews and the Arabs got their language from. And when you go into the Bible and you see where the words of Jesus is in red.
Yes, sir.
Please, God. Huh?
Yes, sir.
We know where you're stealing this shit from. Huh? The Quran got red writing in red.
But don't get confused, because Arabic is our language. There is no Arabic race. The word Arab connotes people who live in the sand, in the desert. It's not a connotation to race. It's a connotation to ecological location. They have turned it into a connotation to race. But the only place you can find a reference or roots to the Arabic language is to look at Medunetia, right? That's hieroglyph, right? The drawing language, the picture language. That language was put together by the African elite for the illiterate African masses so that they could comprehend the same thing that the elite could comprehend without having formal education. By using symbols from the ecology to express concepts, ideas, and principles, you didn't have to go to college to know what the elite was talking about. This language out of which Hebrew flow is the technical language and the scientific language of Medunetia, which is referred to as the hieratic script. Okay. And then there is this one, the Demotic script, which is Arabic. Aleph, Bat, Ta, Ta, Jim, Ha, Ka, Dal, Dal, Raz, Za, Sin, Shin, Sa, Dot. All of them are contained, plus many more symbols than they use, in the language that they call the Demotic script, which is really the Meroitic script of Sudan, which precedes this script. You understand what I'm saying? If we don't grab and get an understanding of how they've been playing with us and playing us, this language, you will not find this anywhere else in the world before you find this cursive form of writing in the Sudan. It is the Sudan that the ancients used to call Ethiopia.
Ancient Egyptian is a member of Afroasiatic, a language family whose members are primarily in Africa, and according to most linguists who actually study Afroasiatic primarily, otherwise called Afrosan or Afrasian, it originated in Africa. What is the evidence for this? Linguists use two primary principles to locate the origins of a language family or a phylum. The greatest diversity principle, and also another principle called the least moves principle. The greatest diversity principle basically says that wherever you find the greatest number of members of a language family or of plants or what have you, is most likely, with few exceptions, to be its place of origin. In the case of Afroasiatic, 5 or 6 of the members, depending on how many members you believe are in the family, are found in Africa and Africa alone. The 6th member, or rather the 6th or 7th member, is found in the Near East, namely the Semetic family. And it actually returned to Africa on 2 separate or 3 separate occasions. One time with the Phoenicians, another time in the Horn of Africa, and also much later on in the Islamic period with the emergence of Islam in North Africa with the coming of people from the Arabian Peninsula. The other thing about historical linguistics, too, in terms of the anchoring of the Afroasiatic family, is that the most undifferentiated members, or the members that seem to be sort of the oldest or the most archaic, are very much confined to places in East Africa, specifically in the Horn. So this is another clue that the origin of the family is in Africa. Here we have a language map of Africa. Language is also a part of culture. It's part of this origins questions. The top part of the map represent the Afroasiatic language family. This is not all of the families now. There's some new families and some new members of the family. This is an old slide. Omotic, which is spoken only in southern Ethiopia, down in here. And there's another language, it's a dead language called Ongata, spoken only by less than 10 people now, which is also felt to be a member of Afroasiatic. All right. This obviously doesn't have ancient Egyptian on it because the reason we have Semitic in North Africa across what I call super-Saharan Africa is because of, during the Islamic period, Arabic was adopted by people, and in some cases you had groups of Arabs who actually came into North Africa, such as the Hilalian invasion in the the 11th century. No, in the 12th century. Nubian, Nilo-Saharan. In the Sahara, we have both Afroasiatic and Nilo-Saharan languages, and in the Sudan today, we have both languages spoken as well. This is one notion of how these languages may be connected genealogically. This is Roger Blench, who actually lives right here in Cambridge. This is a tree that he published. In this, he has Semitic languages spoken in the Near East splitting off early. He suggested there may be an Eritreic group, that Egyptian Berber Chadic, spoken around Lake Chad and northern Nigeria, but also in other parts of the Sahara. Beja, spoken in the Sudan and Egypt even today, and Cushitic languages. And often. Here you have a picture from the great Russian linguist Diakonov, Igor Diakonov, who died a few years ago. This is from his book Afroasian Languages, published in 1965. He has the family of Afroasiatic originating near the Horn of Africa, either in the southern Sahara, the Sudan, or some people say in Ethiopia proper. He has a Semitic branch going in across the Red Sea into Arabia. Other people have it going in through the north. Now, this is a way to conceptualize the cradle land of the family and the fact that its daughters emerge out of a group of what's called dialect clusters that would have been there. Although there is one linguist who does think that Semitic actually emerged in the Horn, Grover Hudson, but he does believe that based on the age of, or the amount of diversity in the Semitic languages in the Horn of Africa. Family of Afroasiatic originating near the Horn of Africa, either in the southern Sahara, the Sudan, or some people say in Ethiopia proper. He has a Semitic branch going in across the Red Sea into Arabia. Other people have it going in through the north.